Hey folks, this is Scott at the X-Fed Homestead. Well, today is a beautiful day, 60 degrees and sunny, and I thought that I would do a video on putting together my busted up wheelbarrow. Now, what's interesting is the #2 most popular video I've ever done is my first video when I did a video entitled Plastic Welding, and I worked on the main tub of my old wheelbarrow. Well, I've got a couple wheelbarrows, and this one here, it's pretty busted up. So we're gonna fix the handles, which are broken. We are also gonna fix the axle, which is too long. I'm gonna cut it down and re-drill some new holes in it to make it work for us. And we're also gonna fix the axle brackets on it because those are broken as well. So kind of an overhaul on the old wheelbarrow, but hopefully it'll be working as good as new when we're done. So let's get to work. As I've said before in other videos, my wheelbarrows usually take a beating, but I loaned one to my neighbor and he was hauling gravel with a single wheelbarrow, and it was tough to hang on to, and it was a heavy load, a top heavy load, and he's working like a dog with his father-in-law on the shed project next door. So I went and got my wheelbarrow, which is large, and it has 2 wheels, so there's no problem balancing it, and you can take heavy loads like gravel with a lot less trouble. Unfortunately, the handles were at or near the end of their useful life, and during the course of it, one of the handles broke on my neighbor. And so I wasn't worried at all. I knew they were very, very old and worn, and that wasn't an issue with me at all. But he's a solid guy, a good neighbor. He came outside with a Home Depot gift certificate for me and said, hey, you know, get some new handles, and I'm sorry. And just a super guy, right? So I went and I got the handles, and I've got 2 of them, brand new, and I'm going to replace these because, as you can see from this particular wheelbarrow, let me just lower the view down here. It is total junk. So these wheels are flopping around on that handle, and so I've got to replace both of them. The axle brackets hold the axle to the handle, and you can see here it just sheared right off. So this is all busted up. And over here, this handle, it doesn't look too good. So I've got some new ones to show you, and we'll try to put everything back together. So the first thing we got to do is take this thing apart, and there are also some missing screws, so I've got to do an inventory so I can figure out what I need to get at the hardware store. That's the end of the wheel. I can take that wheel off. Well, this isn't the worst deconstruction job I've ever done, but it's certainly not the best. It's not going smoothly, but it's going to go eventually. Well, I guess it's time for the multi-tool of madness. And we'll just cut into this and get rid of this wood so I can get these pieces out unscathed. At least that's the plan. I'll try to get close to the bolt so that I can pry it out of there. Okay. Oh, well, that was a bit more work than I thought it would be. I think I am probably going to get all new bolts for everything here. So I have the tub, I have the old handles, and the next thing to do is take the new handles and put the bolt marks right in the same places. So that's why I'm glad I didn't cut this thing all the way through, because this is the only handle left that can give me an idea of exactly where the holes should go. So I'm going to do that next. I put WD-40 on a couple of the bolts, but it didn't seem to make a difference. I'm going to have to grind these ones off. There we are. And that bolt should come out now. There we go. Well, now that we have all the bolts cut off there, we can take this out of the vise and use it to place the holes on our new handles over here. So now that I have my new handles and I have the old handle here, I'm going to use this old handle. It's exactly the same size as these replacement handles. I'll use it as a template. So I'm just going to put it on top. I'm going to make sure that everything's flush. And then I'm just going to take a mechanical pencil and go down in these holes and just make a little circle down there. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got markings right here that I can use, and I will just find the center line of each of these markings. And I'll make my hole halfway through here, and everything should match up. The only other mark that I have to make is on the side. If you'll notice at the bottom, past the wheels, where this bracket that I just ground off, this bracket goes down at the end. So I'm going to make a hole in the side of this as well. So let me turn it up. Turn this on the side. And I'll make those markings at my drill press in the downstairs shop in the basement. Tomorrow I'll head out to the hardware store and get new bolts for everything. And as much as we can make this wheelbarrow look brand new again. Well, I'm down in the basement shop with the old Delta drill press, and we'll get some holes drilled here. You'll see I have the drill bit set up. It's a 5/16 inch drill bit. The pieces that I had previously, the bolts that I had previously in the wheelbarrow were 1/4 inch bolts. I wanted to make them a little thicker, so I upped them to 5/16. Well, that's it for the shop downstairs. We'll take these back up to the garage and start bolting them in. I have all the holes drilled in the handles here, looking pretty good. And I have all my brand new bolts sitting over here lined up on the table, ready to put back. So I think we're in pretty good shape. and we should give it a last final push to get this project done. Well, this next section is going to be interesting because I need to put the wheelbarrow tub on first. And then in order to do that, well, I'm going to have to figure it out. It's going to be a little tricky, but I think I can do it up here on the table. I am definitely not tightening these up until the axle gets on. But at least these will hold the handles in place while I connect them to the tub. Now, if you look at the holes on the bottom of the tub, you're going to see this one looks pretty good. And that's where the carriage bolt used to fit in, and it would kind of lock right there. Although that square hole right there seems a little bit routed out. Now this one down here is totally destroyed. And I've got two. I've got this one right here and that one over there that are totally destroyed. This one over here looks pretty good. It could still take a carriage bolt. So that's what it's supposed to look like. But what I'm going to do, what I came up with for a solution is this over here. I'm going to use a double washer system. So I'm going to put the 5/16 bolt is going to have a washer at the end of it. And then I'm going to put this washer, this larger washer, on top of it. So that way the bolt won't fall through the hole in the larger washer. And then that will be able to go in here. Not a perfect solution, especially since this is going to be on the inside. So the inside isn't going to be smooth. But that's something I'm going to have to deal with. And I think it's okay for my purposes here of making this wheelbarrow last a lot longer. And besides, so the plan is to put these double washer system up from the bottom, get it through here, and then this is going to connect to this wheelbarrow stand up through here as well. So I'm going to hyperspeed through all of that. So it's going to be painful to do by myself, but I'll get the hyperspeed going on it, and it shouldn't be so bad to watch. Well, it's another day, and last night I ran into a problem with the project. And you always run into something along the way that you hadn't anticipated. What I hadn't anticipated is that the axle brackets that I bought wouldn't work for me. And so they had just a little indentation right here in the curved part of it. You can see there's a hole right there. And I thought that was for oil. But it also had a bit of a nub down inside this tube area here. So as I tried to put the axle through there, it would stop and wouldn't come out. And then the second thing I discovered is that there were these metal spanners that I took off previously. One is shorter than the other, as you can see there. And those spanners go right over here on the wheelbarrow. One goes from this arm over here, over there, that's the narrow one, and the wider one goes from here over to the other side. Ideally, they were both placed underneath the handles so that the bolts and the handles and the tub wouldn't all move around and break the plastic that is around the bottom of the tub where the bolts go through. So what I'm going to have to do is take off the handles and try to shimmy those things into the right places. That's something I hadn't counted on, but I did count on the fact that I'd leave the bolts loose for now because something always comes up before I tighten everything up. So I'm going to put the spanners in place, and I filed down these little nubs that were in here so that the axles could go through. And because they were made in another country, the tolerances are just a little off. So where it says 1/2 inch, it's a little bit narrower than it needs to be. So I put them in the vise and I just gave them a tap with the hammer, and that loosened them up enough, and it'll all be just fine. So I'm going to speed through installing the spanners and the axle brackets, and we'll try to get this project finished up. And everything's looking pretty good, except there's one more thing that I really wanted to do to the wheelbarrow here. You can see down here, right here, there's a bit of a crack in it, and there's a small one on the other side. And so what I wanted to do is fix that crack, and what I'm going to do to fix it is to use hot staples. In my very first video, I called it plastic welding because it was putting pieces of plastic together. And some of it that I did, it wouldn't leak, which was pretty amazing. So I'm going to get out the hot stapler and add some more staples to this ancient wheelbarrow and keep it working for a while longer. You can see the wheels all work, the stretchers are in place like I wanted them, and I just have to finish tightening all the bolts and doing this little bit of welding here on the plastic. So let me show you how I use the hot staples. So now I'm going to show you the hot stapler, which is this little device right here. And it has a few holes in the end where you put one of these staples. And this one's a little curvy, and it's got 2 leads on it right at the bottom. I don't know if I'll put it in front of the black tire so you can see. Switch it up here. There we go. So that staple goes right in there, and that's what it looks like. So we're going to take that, and when we plug this in, it'll heat this up till it's red hot, and then we can press that into the plastic, and it'll keep the 2 parts that have broken together. And that's how it works. So let me show you. Now here's the hot stapler, and I'm going to pull the trigger right here, and you'll see it'll take a minute. Little flashlight goes on, but then it gets nice and hot. And then what you do is you press this flush and melt that in. Let it go, and then pull it out. And now this part here will be close together, and we'll work our way up the crack here and down this way so that it doesn't crack anymore. So you keep continuing on just like that, Keep adding a staple, pressing the plastic, the broken plastic together as you go along, and you'll work your way essentially suturing up a tear in the plastic. Now that the staples are in, you can see all these little points on them. And those will really hurt you if you touch them, if you hit them hard. So you got to get rid of those. So what I'm going to do is, just like I did over here, I'm just going to take the grinder and grind them off. You can see if I go sideways how spiky they are. They're like barbed wire. So let's take care of those. Well, that's it. Let's take this thing off the workbench and see what kind of ride it gives. That looks pretty good. Well, hopefully that'll help me for another year of doing some gardening. And it's my big wheelbarrow. It's my favorite, so I'm really glad it's fixed now. So that's how you fix a wheelbarrow. We replaced the handles, we straightened out the axle, we got the axle brackets on there brand new. It's got brand new screws all around, and we actually did some plastic welding on the tub itself to fix a hole in it. So a lot we did on that wheelbarrow, and anybody can do it themselves. I hope you learned something good today. And for now, this is Scott at the XFed Homestead. We'll see you next time.